She has been a part of our lives for more than 60 years. She is such a great actress with a lot of charm that she doesn't feel like a famous person and more like family. From the beaches of Gidget that are soaked in sun to the rebellious workshops of Norma Rae. From the strong matriarch in Forrest Gump to the grieving mother in Steel Magnolia, Sally Field has played characters that people will never forget. Her work has earned her 2 Academy Awards and the love of a country. American sweetheart, she is known for her bravery, warmth, and strength. People all over the world know that the story shown on TV, movies, and other screens is only half true. She's the bird, an American image of hope, a nun, and Forrest Gump's loving mother. What made Sally Field a national gem, though, was her happy personality and famous smile. These traits were formed during a painful and secretive childhood. She hid a story of terrible pain for decades. In this sad story, we see what Sally Field did when the cameras were off. Sally Field was born in Pasadena, California, on November 6, 1946. This is where the story starts. I came into a world that was all about making things up from the start. Mary Field, her mother, was a beautiful performer who worked on contract at Paramount. Richard Dryden Field was her father. He was a pharmacist who served in the Army during the From the Outside World War II. It looked like a picture of what America could be like after the war, but it was already broken. In 1950, when Sally was only 4, her parents' marriage ended. After 2 years, her mother got married again, and the new husband would have a long, dark effect on Sally's life. He was Jock Mahoney, a famous Western stuntman and actor with a lot of charm. He was amazing and could charm people bigger than life. But a different secret world played out behind closed doors. From a very young age until she was in her early teens, she was raped by her dad. Dot in her haunting 2018 Book of Memories. In bits and pieces, Field finally spoke out about the pain she felt as a child. She talked about a terrible and confused situation that broke her innocence and changed how she thought about power, safety, and love. In writing, she talked about how confused she was. I felt like a child, helpless and not like a child, strong. I had this power, and I owned it. But I wished I were a kid. This horrifying paradox is a common and very bad thing about abusing children. The abuse was a steady, scary thing in her home, the one safe place for kids to be. Later, she wrote that it would have been easier if her dad had only been mean, but that the way he was nice and then broke her heart made the situation worse and more confusing. It was a planned process of grooming that made her feel completely alone and separated. When she was 14, the abuse stopped for good, but the damage was already done. A bunch of hidden cuts that would hurt for decades. For most of Sally's life, she was always wondering if her mother knew. As a child, she didn't think her mother could protect her because she was often having her own problems. It was very quiet. That went on for years. A moment of devastating insight didn't come until a long time later, just before her mother died in 2011. Her mother admitted that she knew about at least one case of abuse. It was a gut-wrenching confirmation for Field of a lifetime of pain that she had never spoken about. Place a dot. Sally Field cheered at Birmingham High School when she was a teen. She looked like any other California girl, but she was dealing with serious depression and anxiety that had its roots in a traumatic event in her childhood. Because of the abuse, she felt broken, or in pieces, as she would later call her story. Taking acting classes saved her life, way to deal with the feelings that were building up inside her. It gave her a voice when she didn't think she had one. After only 17, another terrible event happened that changed her life. They got pregnant in 1964, 9 years before Roe Wade. Back then, birth control wasn't easy to get, especially for young women who weren't married, so she didn't have many choices. In Quijijana, Mexico, an illegal abortion was set up by a family. Doctor, place a dot. The experience was more than scary. She said that she and her mother were driven across the border, given cash in an envelope, and told to go to a suspicious-looking house. The surgery was horrifying and changed my life. She only got a few puffs of ether as an anesthetic, which numbed her limbs but didn't change how painful it was for her. The technician sexually assaulted her during the process, which made her pain even worse. She remembered how hard it was for her to move her numb arms to push him away. She felt what she could only describe as a pit of shame at that very moment. That event was a huge shock on top of other traumas that were already happening. She has talked about the shame she felt for many years, which came from the way people lived in the 1950s. In a strange way, though, this horrible age-changing point set off a chain of events. It was a very hard line in her life. There were only a few months between her trip to Mexico and the show. She got the part of the bubbly, happy surfer girl in the TV show Gidget almost right away, which would make her famous. It was the best mask ever. While Americans fell in love with the tanned teen on TV, the real young woman was secretly putting her broken life back together, hiding a world of pain behind the famous girl next door. Smile, dot with gig, and then the nun in the air. People all over the world knew Sally Field, but for an actor who really wants to explore in the deeper, more complicated parts of her mind, these jobs felt like a gold cage. She was often cast as a light-hearted comedic actor, which made her very angry. She started learning with Lee Strasberg at the famous actor's studio in order to break free. Strasberg saw past her cute TV persona and helped her get better at her craft. Her personal life was also changing. It was in 1968 that she married Stephen Craig for the first time. They had 2 boys together, Peter and Eli. In 1975, when the marriage ended, she was trying to change who she was professionally. The big break came in 1976, when Sybil Field played a tough young woman with many problems in a TV movie. Terrible. Child abuse caused a personality problem. Her act was shocking, real, and completely convincing. It won her an Emmy and changed the way people thought about her for the field. It wasn't just a part. Through the safety of a character, it was a way to look at the landscape of pain. Place a dot. After this success, she started her most famous and possibly worst romance with Burt Reynolds. They met on the set of Smokey and the Bandit, and their chemistry on screen made the movie a huge hit. They became the golden couple in Hollywood. However, in the bright light, the partnership was a painful reminder of her past. In her autobiography, Field wrote that her relationship with Reynolds was a perfect match of flaws. She also said that she was using Reynolds to work out the bad feelings she had about her relationship with her dad. She wrote that he was in charge of a situation that she was tragically set up to accept. He didn't care about her goals and was envious of her skills. When she was up for an Oscar for Norma Rae, this all came to a head. That part was the one of a lifetime, and it made her a real actress. Reynolds, on the other hand, wasn't helpful at all and wouldn't even go to the Oscars with her. The Academy Awards were the most important event in Sally Field's career, so she went with friends. She won, and her speech was filled with pure happiness. After a few years, she won her second Oscar for Places in the Heart, which is where she famously said, "I can't deny the fact that you like me right now. Do you think I'm cute?" These times of public victory were hard-fought fights. The end of her relationship with Reynolds for good came in 1982. Reynolds would later call her the love of his life in public, which she found strange. It wasn't a great love story for her. It was a painful part of her life that she had to end in order to find herself. After the chaos along with Burt Reynolds, Sally Field built an even more impressive career with hits like Steel Magnolias, Miss Doubtfire, and Forrest Gump. A director named Alan Griezmann became her second husband in 1984. They had a son named Sam together. Before she got divorced in 1994, she put all of her energy into her job and her 3 boys, which made her life stable. But when she was in her late 50s, a new problem came up. In 2005, it struck her from inside Dot. Sally Field was told she had osteoporosis when she was 59 years old. The sickness makes bones weak and is sometimes called a silent disease. Field was shocked. "I'd always eaten right," she said. "I had always worked out ... I did everything I could to be a good girl, but it was failing." She was a thin, small-boned white woman over 50 years old, which was the main risk description. The news was scary, but Field didn't let fear run her life, as she always did. Her own health problem became a public cause, and she started the Rally with Sally for Bone Health effort to bring attention to it. She spoke out against it and told women to get bone density tests and know the risks. She was honest about her care, which sent a strong message that getting the disease was not a normal part of getting older. This campaign began a new era. The woman who had kept her deepest pains to herself was now talking freely about a health problem. Her work as an activist didn't end there. Because her younger son, Sam, is gay, she became a strong supporter of LGBTQ+ rights. In 2012, the Human Rights Campaign gave her an award for her work. Climate change protests, she was jailed with Jane Fonda. For 7 years, she has fought for women's rights and reproductive freedom. Writing her life story was the hardest thing Sally Field had ever done. So, her 2018 book, Pieces of My Life, wasn't a Hollywood-styled tell-all, but a real, in-depth look at a life lived in small pieces. It was her need to understand herself that led to the book. This process began after her mother died in 2011. The main theme of her memoir is how hard and difficult her relationship with her mother was. It's an attempt to understand the woman who was her whole world, but couldn't keep her safe. The book finally gave her a way to talk about the sexual abuse, the painful abortion, and the shame and confusion that followed for more than 60 years. Putting the book out there took a lot of bravery, but she felt strangely whole after doing it. She could start to heal by putting together the broken pieces of her life. In the past few years, her voice as an organizer has become stronger since taking a break from social media. In August 2024, she came back. She posted in support of people she thought would best protect democracy and human rights because she was inspired by the political scene. In October 2024, she told the story of her abortion again. She talked about how ashamed people are still, and how important it is to make sure that future generations don't have to go through the same horrible things. "These are the things that women are going through now," she begged. "We need to stay here and not go back." It was the voice of a woman who had been to the edge and back again, using all the pain of her past to fight. For some, Sally Field's story is a powerful warning that behind every smile in public there may be a very hard story going on behind the scenes. Because she was brave enough to tell the truth, dark corners have been lit up and important talks have begun. Make sure you subscribe to our channel for more stories about how strong